Lil Nas X. Would you call him a rapper? Would you call him a country music star? What would you call him?
I just call him a star. In general, he's a star.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he does music.
Musical star.
Musical star. Yes. All right. Lil Nas X. I feel like this happens every time that we record. Something happens and it's like the day after we record the episode, but before we put it out, and then we can't talk about it until next week. So this is kind of old, maybe, but it's still out there. I'm still into it. We had to talk about it. Lil Nas X, if you didn't know, released this video called Montero, in parentheses, Call Me By My Name, I believe. And let's just say, John, it caused some people to be a little upset. Some people that maybe were mentioned in our last episode about evangelical right-wing Christians, I would venture a guess. And one of the reasons why they were upset, among others, is in the video, there's this, I would say, very tastefully done scene where Lil Nas X, dances down a stripper pole straight to hell. Again, very tastefully done, but, the CGI was impressive. He gives what I would say is a fairly erotic lap dance to Satan himself. And then, at this point, John, is ignored a lot. He kills the devil. He kills Satan, breaks his fucking neck. Now, one will argue, does he become Satan afterwards? Possibly. I don't know. The viewer is left to their own interpretation of that. I'm not pissed off about it. It's fine if he wants to go, and if he wants to fuck the devil, that's great. He can do whatever he wants. He's an American. But, to get mad at him for killing Satan is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's a new one for me. Look, I thought about that too, and no one can prove that if you kill the devil, that you don't become it. There's no proof. Like, maybe Lil Nas X knows something we don't.
He might. He very well might. And maybe it's just, maybe if he's Satan, then he's like a better Satan. Different than what's being described in the text of the Holy Book, where Satan is not great, at least from what it sounds like. I don't know. I didn't read the Bible that well.
I've seen his Yelp. It's not very good.
The Bible?
No, the devil.
Oh, I was going to say, Bible's Yelp probably would have gotten spammed pretty hard.
I love this discussion because we posted on Twitter, and I think it's so true. Like, evangelical Christians, all gays go to hell. Lil Nas goes to hell, and people get angry. He just did what you've been telling him to do.
I know, yeah, it's right. He's just taking their advice, and he's like, "Oh, well, hey, it's not that bad here." And then they're like, "Wait a minute, no, hold on there, partner."
Why are they Woody from Toy Story?
I was thinking of Yosemite Sam, but maybe if Yosemite Sam fucked Woody, but then they'd go to hell because they were gay. The reason for bringing this up is because a bunch of right-wingers got all upset about this, right? And of course they got upset about WAP, wet ass pussy. But what I think is funny is there's so much uproar over this, over Lil Nas X doing a little bit of a dance on old Mr. Lucifer. And it reminded me of the lack of outrage in other things that are, in my opinion, I would argue more grotesque, more objectionable, I think is the word I'd use. And it brings me back to around 2007. John, you would have been, 15?
I would have been, 2007, I'd have been 14.
Okay, well, spitballing here. It was around probably your sophomore year of high school. My senior year, there was a song, and it was called Crank That, and it came out. It was by Soulja Boy Tell 'Em. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't tell you much about what that song's about, but it was really popular as a dance to it, and it made it on one of the Kidz Bop albums. And those are, the albums where kids do remixes of really well-known songs. It's this whole thing. Well, Crank That was on there. And I think it's funny to think about this in the context of Lil Nas X, because people were so outraged with Lil Nas X, but they weren't outraged with the fact that Crank That was on Kidz Bop. And the reason why, John, is for the main hook, the main, like, I think, chorus, which goes, Superman dat ho. And according to Urban Dictionary, which, despite its name, is actually quite a pretty reliable source, Superman dat ho, and if you're listening to this with small children, you want to give them a couple of earmuffs there. It is when a male climaxes or ejaculates on a female's back, or on a blanket, excuse me, and sticks it on a female's back, creating a cape-like Superman. So not only is it misogynistic, it's fucking disgusting. But you have, like, and I think the lyrics were slightly modified for Kidz Bop, but I don't think they're modified that much. But I'm just saying, John, where's the outrage for Soulja Boy that is being placed on our friend and fellow Appalachian Lil Nas X?
That's a good point, and I had to Google this because I couldn't remember it. But do you remember the song "Thrift Shop" by Macklemore?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was also a Kidz Bop song.
Right,
okay?
Right, about small business.
A lot of people like, right, super catchy, right? Well, here's a lyric from it. Walk into the club like, what up, I got a big... The Kidz Bop lyric became, now walk into the club, what up, I got a hit song.
Hit song is now a euphemism for a large... What up? I got a hit song. It's right down here.
These are so bad too. Like, you remember the "Lazy" song by Bruno Mars?
Yeah.
The original lyric: met a really nice girl, have some really nice sex, and she goes to scream out, "This is great! Oh my God, this is great!"
Yeah.
Kidz Bop lyric: met a really nice girl, send a really nice text, and she's gonna write back, "You're so great, OMG, you're so great."
So sexting, interesting play for Kidz Bop.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many of these too, like, that I didn't even know that they did this, but now I'm like, "Starships" by Nicki Minaj was a Kidz Bop song. The original lyric was, "We're higher than a motherfucker." Kidz Bop lyric: "We're Kidz Bop and we're taking over."
That's not even, what the Jesus.
This is probably like if Donald Trump's campaign had to switch the lyrics to a song, this is what this sounds like. It's Not Myself Tonight by Christina Aguilera. The original lyric was, "If you don't like it, fuck you." Kidz Bop lyric was, "And if you don't like it, boo-hoo."
You don't like it. I just wish they wouldn't change that one. And if you don't like it, fuck you.
Could you imagine that?
Superman that hoe.
At
what up?
Point,
I got a big
like. But they change. I know that we're going on a tangent, but I think this is hilarious.
This is really important.
Kidz Bop, I didn't realize this. Like, Kidz Bop also changes not just like cuss words and stuff, but if they disagree with like a viewpoint. So, religion.
What are they saying, that they didn't think that Macklemore had a big?
Yeah, they disagreed. they fact checked it.
Sir, it's average. Okay, sorry.
Do you know the song "Break Even" by The Script?
When a heart breaks, well, don't break even.
Yeah, that's
what
it.
am I? You stand with the Sorry.
All right. Well, we'll have to make a Chuck Bop. Look,
yeah,
the original lyric was
Chuck Bop coming out next month.
I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. Just prayed to a God that I don't believe in.
Oh shit.
They rewrote it as, "I'm still alive, but I'm barely breathing. Just praying to a thing that I don't believe in." So they took God off the table. They're just done with it.
But that's still like, it's like, but then you're just praying to a false idol that you don't believe in at that point. So that doesn't even solve their perceived problem. Fucking Kidz Bop, some friggin' hypocritical pieces of shit.
I mean, look, oh God. Okay, last one, we can move on. I didn't know that this was okay. You know the band One Direction?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't know that people had to change their lyrics. I thought that they would be like a pretty decent Kidz Bop like group. But I didn't know this was one of their lyrics. The original lyric was, "She told me in the morning she don't feel the same about us in her bones," which I'm assuming means, I guess, something sexual because they had to change it. But they changed it. Oh, okay. I don't know why they changed it. They just changed the word morning to hallway. The original one is, "She told me in the morning she don't feel the same about us in her bones," and they changed it to, "She told me in the hallway she don't feel the same about us in her bones."
So they're taking like what's a sexual in your window and they're just making it a nonsense. Like you're walking down the hall, you're like, "I don't feel the same way about you in my bones."
Yeah, like, could you not have... Look, I guess you're not allowed in the hallway in the morning. Going back to the little Nas X thing, the final thing I'll say is, we as kids, like, I know that you mentioned, like, the Superman or whatever.
Yeah, and his hoe. Yeah.
Right. But, like, did you watch South Park growing up?
I didn't. I couldn't get... I thought it was fine. I thought it was funny, but the animation just annoyed the shit out of me.
I understand. But there's an entire series of Saddam Hussein sleeping with Satan.
Yes, I did see that on the internet.
Having a ton of sex with Satan. But, like, because it just happened to be not a white guy or not a guy that they did, like a guy they didn't like, it was okay. No one, like, blew up on that.
Oh, yeah. Hell, if there's there's plenty of songs about Saddam getting, like, raped and stuff that they were totally cool with.
Yeah, Toby Keith talks about blowing him up.
Would you know, like, I'm not against that music. I'm just stating that for the record, but
nobody throws their hands in the air like, "What do we do and why are we teaching our kids
that's
this?"
Right. It's right. Why are we teaching our kids, Toby Keith, about red Solo cups? And Dierks Bentley getting drunk on a plane.
Yeah. The only good part about it is he didn't give any drinks to the pilot.
That's true. That was his saving grace. Anyway. That is a good point, John. You bring that up, and gee, what a shocker. It's probably because he's a gay black man. I know, I did. Well, that's, the right-wing Christian movement against stripper poles and Satan. But you know what? I'm just going to state here for the record. I'm for it. I like him as a creator. Thought what he did was edgy. It was cool. So keep doing what you do.
Look, we can interpret art in 1,000 different ways, and I think just what he was doing was he was taking something that, is art, and he changed it to what he liked.
He's taking hell, making it sexy. That's what they've always needed. Anyway, announcements.
That's been all over their Yelp.
Announcement: Zoom Hangout. We're doing a Zoom Hangout with Patreon members this Wednesday. So when this comes out, it'll be tomorrow. April 7th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're a Patreon member, you know about this. If you're not, then you can join us.
Yeah, for as low as $5 a month.
That's right.
And you get to hang out with us. That's pretty cool. Look, I'm not super, entertaining, but I love a good Zoom meeting. And I'm holding it like it's a meeting in our corporation.
Yes, well, it is, and very serious. It'd be a good time. Don't know what we'll talk about. We'll talk about something. Might have.
We'll answer all the questions.
Yeah, we'll answer.
If there's any questions,
we'll answer even questions that don't exist. Dogs might make an appearance.
That's true.
Booze might.
Dogs will make an appearance.
And it'll be a good time. Anyway, so show up to that. There you go. New Patreon members though, John, this week. Name them off.
We got three. Thank you so much for joining. And they are Lauren, Lacey, Zach. Again, We appreciate all y'all joining. We appreciate everybody who's stuck with us. Chuck, we've got people who have been Patreon members for a really long time.
A year.
It's
actually.
insane. Yeah, they've been with us. They're the OG Patreon members.
OG. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm shocked as much as you are by it, but I'm grateful. And no exclusive this week because we're going to be doing the Zoom call, so show up for that. Promise it'll be more fun than the ones that you do at work. Promise.
I was gonna make a joke.
At least if it starts to get boring, then I'll just get drunk. So there's that. Datalacha, I'm bringing it back this time. I cut it out of the last episode, but it's such a good lead-in that I have to do it because it relates to our topic today. So I'm going to hit you with a number, John. And for those of you who don't know, Datalacha, it's where I cite a number, a statistic about Appalachia. John tries to guess what it is. Sometimes he gets it right. Sometimes he doesn't. It's always a good time that we talk about it. Today's number, John, 37.
All right, 37. The number of people that already stopped listening to this episode.
I hope that it's not that high.
Based off of our last discussion on Kidz Bop. That's my guess.
I mean, 37 might be the number of albums Kidz Bop has put out. I don't know. It's incorrect, I hope. I can't say.
No, it's way above 37 for Kidz Bop.
I hope that 37 is incorrect for what you first guessed.
You hope it's higher?
No, I'm just hoping that we don't lose anybody, but to be realistic, yeah, I hope it is 37.
Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, real guess here. I'm gonna say 37 is it's in Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because it's related to our topic today.
I mean, yeah, it is. Loosely.
It's a little fishy. Alabama, 37. The number of counties in Alabama that currently have a union.
No. Damn, I thought you were going to get it. You were so close. The number of counties in Alabama that are part of Appalachia.
Okay, wait a second.
But hang in there. Look, I know you're upset. And that's understandable. But
I'm not upset because I have Nutella.
I thought you were going to say I'm not upset, I'm disappointed.
I'm disappointed, yeah.
So the reason why I brought that up is because we see these comments several times of like people thinking that Alabama's not part of Appalachia, or Mississippi's not, or New York isn't, or what have you, yada yada. And kind of one of the reasons we do this show is to present the complex picture of what is or what's happening in Appalachia, or how we see things, and part of that is talking about all of it, because there are 37 counties in Alabama that are part of Appalachia. 37. I didn't realize it was that high.
I didn't either, but I also, spoiler alert, this is really closely related to Beef with Big John, and
Good.
This was not planned.
Good. Well, that's why we're so in sync right now. So, and I say that because today's episode, as John was alluding to, is about Alabama and unionizing activities happening in Alabama. So, when this comes out, we might know the results of a very important vote. We're not sure yet. So, this is kind of like the whole epicenter of the union movement right now is down in a place called Bessemer, Alabama. Forget which county it is. I think it might be Tuscaloosa, but I could be wrong. And it is a Amazon distribution facility, about 6,000 employees, and they are probably the closest, I think, that any place in the U.S. has ever been to unionizing an Amazon workplace. Amazon has notoriously been against unions, pushing back against them, being anti-union for a really long time, and they just submitted the votes from employees to the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board. I have read that a decision could come as early as Monday. So at the recording of this is Sunday, April 4th. And we're recording this right now, Sunday evening. So we may get results. I'm not sure. But basically, from what I understand, there needs to be about 30% of employees, of workers out of that facility to vote in favor of it in order for for them to form a union. And this could be huge because, like I mentioned, this would be the first North American entity of Amazon that would be unionized, that would have a union, which is huge for their their 500,000 domestic employees. And what's even more important about that is it could really spur that type of activity in other Amazon workplaces. So seeing it being possible there could encourage employees and other ones across the country to unionize as well, which would be huge and which would really put Amazon on their backs.
Yeah, and just from my history, I actually knew the answer to that data latch. I just didn't want to spoil it.
Oh, okay.
I also know that Bessemer is in Jefferson County, Alabama.
Cool.
And no, this was something I learned in school.
Okay.
Their hotels average 3 stars, $145 a night. I did not learn that from Google. I learned that from Mr. Dennis. He taught me that.
Great.
Anyway, one of my favorite classes in law school, we got to do a simulation for union voting, where we had people like that they put on the inside that were trying to like break up the union. And then we had people who were trying to get the union passed, and then we had people who were cheating and stuff that everybody faces. And I'll tell you what, it was difficult to get the union passed in a class where the union's supposed to pass. And so I can't imagine how difficult it actually, well, I can because I've looked at it, but it's super difficult is what I'm trying to say, to get a union passed. It is not easy to get the votes that you need. I know that the threshold does not sound like a lot, but it is, because one, you have people who are scared. They don't, they don't want to lose their jobs, and they're told that they're going to lose their jobs. There's a lot of terrible stuff. We'll get into it, I'm sure. But yeah, this is a really big deal, especially if it passes.
Yeah, and you're right about it just being kind of an uphill climb, and there's a reason why no workplace of Amazon's has been unionized yet, even though it's the largest, I think one of the largest, not the largest, but one of the largest companies in the world. So I am going to dedicate part of this episode to just shitting on Amazon a little bit, because I really don't like them. I'm starting to count the days that since I've used Amazon. I think it's been over almost 2 months now. Trying to extend that longer. So if anyone wants to join in that effort, please do so. Amazon sucks. So during the pandemic, and this is when kind of like this organizing, a lot of it started. I mean, it's been happening for a long time, but it really has increased here. So workers have faced possible COVID-19 infection and long hours fulfilling online orders. But in the meantime, Amazon has made insane profits since the pandemic, because everybody's ordering stuff rather than going out to stores. And so the company themselves, they grew net sales 44% in 2020 over the previous year, and brought in $125.6 billion in revenue in the fourth quarter of 2020 alone. So all the while, they treat their employees like shit, and that's how they make this money, John. I know that you've probably seen this. A lot of people probably have, because it's been going around on the internet a little bit. Workers have to piss in bottles in order to meet ridiculous productivity metrics, especially the ones that are driving the delivery trucks, because they literally can't take the time to go and use the restroom, or else they won't be able to make their productivity. And they're, and I'll get into like how they track that here in a second. It's been reported that women have to bring buckets and baby wipes into their trucks so they can use the restroom. And it's interesting is Amazon actually denied all of this, but then somebody leaked internal documents to The Intercept, which showed the company not only knew about it, but they also knew about people having to shit in bags, which is disgusting. As the company, I mean, the fact that, like, I don't blame them for doing this. I mean, you have to do what you have to do, but the fact the company knew about it and then denied it is just stupid and not surprising. But since February, and John, this will resonate to you, since February last year, there's been 37 charges filed against the NLRB on behalf of Amazon employees, which is a lot. I think Walmart's only had like 10 since then. So, and that tells you something. Like, people are starting to organize. They're starting to get fed up with Amazon's BS. And I don't know if you've ever known anybody that's worked in any of the distribution facilities, but I have, and they absolutely hate it.
Yeah, I knew a couple people who went to work for Amazon after college, and both of them they quit in like I think 3 or 4 months. And it's not because they're not hard workers, because both of them are at the same job now that they got after Amazon. It was just terrible. I mean, just awful conditions. They don't treat their staff very well. And look, there's a reason why companies like them will do everything they can to stop unions. And it's because it will stop them from being able to treat their employees like trash.
Yeah.
And they hate that.
And it'll stop them from being able to pay as much to their shareholders and their corporate execs. One of which I will get into because it's very disappointing and he sucks. But I wanted to talk a little bit about their kind of big brother aspect of how they do all this. I was reading, and this is by no means comprehensive, by the way. This is just a little bit of reading into this. They use thermal cameras, item scanners, navigation software, electronic wristbands, and security cameras to monitor their employees. So you've got all these things on you that are monitoring you basically from the time you punch in till the time you punch out. And it's all based on making sure that you are productive enough so they can meet their 2-day delivery quotas, or, you know, get the items off the shelf and ship them out efficiently. And it's really just inhumane. They create, so this is interesting when it comes to unions. This is how coordinated their union busting is. And this is just kind of a snippet of it. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But they create heat maps and use data such as team member sentiment and a diversity index to figure out which of its stores and workplaces have a higher risk of unionizing. Like, this is how, and they regularly hire FBI agents to track people and to investigate and pick up on any like organizing activity. This shit is nuts. And
but I've had an FBI agent trailing you.
Great. But he's going to be real disappointed.
Yeah, it's been a really boring investigation.
Yeah, he's looking for that payday and getting the fuck out. So there's one thing. Their PR for this has been terrible. This whole time they've been running, you know, because there's been so much scrutiny on Amazon and so much attention brought to him by this Bessemer vote, the PR operation has been kind of an overdrive. So they got a new CEO. It's not Jeff Bezos anymore. He's called themselves the Bernie Sanders of employers and bragged about their $15 minimum wage. Yet they put out tweets refuting the piss claims and the shit claims. And I just want to put a special fuck you out there to Jay Carney, who was formerly the press secretary for Barack Obama when he was president. And now he's basically head of Amazon's public policy and PR. And he's out there putting out a bunch of BS tweets about how they treat their employees well and all this stuff. And it's like, you know, all these people are just fucking company men. They're out there to collect. Jay Carney's probably pulling in at minimum $500K, I bet. At a minimum. In addition to all the other money he's bringing in. To go out here and bust up these unions of these people who literally have to shit in bags to get their $15 an hour.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Amazon, I don't know if you saw this. I know that you don't like YouTube very much, but you've probably seen at least something from these guys. Dude Perfect. Have you ever seen? Okay, so Amazon has been creating Twitter accounts to go in and essentially be a bot and say like bad things about unions, like why would you ever want to be part of a union, because then you got to pay fees and stuff like that, and then if you can't 12 months of fees is one PS5, you know, shit like that. Well, they really do that. Have you seen those flyers? They're terrible. Anyway, so they created this one specific Twitter and they used a picture, and obviously Google reverse image search works. They took pictures of the Dude Perfect guys and cropped them and made them into Twitter bots. That's how lazy they are.
Oh yeah. No, that's actually the other thing I want to bring up with this too, is like they're whoever their PR is, like whoever they're hiring to do this stuff needs to be fired. But even actually, I hope they keep them on though, because I think it's hilarious. But yeah, you're right. Well, they have like all these bots out there on Twitter that are supposedly people, like you mentioned, that work at the facilities, and it is so abundantly clear that they're not. Like, there's one. It was Darla at GYR1, which I'm guessing is the facility. Picking customer orders since April 2020. Big fan of watching movies and proud mama 2 boys. Also put the pronouns in there to make sure she's woke. And then she would tweet things like, "Oh, I'm not against unions. I just want more of my paycheck." And the pictures are clearly like just they probably ripped them off of some stock photo website.
Well, the one with the dude from Dude Perfect, he was following 9 people, 0 followers. His bio says husband, father, happy Amazon employee. And his one tweet is, unions are good for some companies, but I don't want to have to shell out hundreds a month just for lawyers. Yeah. #Amazon, #Amazon unions.
Of course, yeah. Throw lawyers under the bus. They always do. It's always the easy layup, the low-hanging fruit.
Such an easy layup.
Lawyers? Why is hell so loud? Because there's a lawyer down there.
No, because look, Lil Nas X.
Lil Nas X is down there making it all comes Satan back. Come. That's why it's so loud.
It all comes back.
There it is. Well, yeah, it's just pathetic. Anyway, it's like embarrassing. One of the richest companies in the world can't afford to fucking do a decent PR. So, in the Best Summer facility and in other facilities where there's been union organizing activity, they've put flyers all across the bathroom stalls, basically with lots of things on them, but some just saying, "Where will your dues go?" and starting to try to sow some disinformation about the money that's taken out of your paycheck for union dues and what it will actually go to. And I think one of them said lawyers to sue people, which would align with fake Dude Perfect guy's Twitter profile. They changed. This is interesting, John, and I think this has been used not just by Amazon, but this is a sort of one of those lowball anti-union busting tactics. They changed the traffic signals to prevent organizers from approaching warehouse workers as they left the site. So they literally found a way or paid somebody off to change the traffic light to time them so that when the people got off work, they couldn't be met by union organizers.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that that's what companies like DuPont did. Like, that's why that there's random lights by plants. That's the reason they did it. The excuse is it's so that they could let workers out, but in actuality, it was a union busting tactic that a lot of companies use.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's always cloaked in some mundane bullshit. They're able to get away with it. They and this is something that a lot of companies do. They held mandatory meetings with all workers where management pushed them to vote against the union, regularly intimidate workers that are showing interest in union and union organizing and putting out information about it, which again is against the National Labor Relations Act. All of that. They push to make, in Bessemer specifically, they push to make the vote exclusively by mail. Now, I believe the National Labor Relations Board rejected that, but it was just another way to discourage people from voting. And here's the kicker, John. They hired Pinkerton, which is a notorious anti-union spying agency, to gather intel on their employees that were working to unionize. And you will recall that the Pinkertons were also hired to be used to guard coal, iron, and lumber disputes during the Battle of Blair Mountain. So coal companies hired them. These guys have been around a long, long time, and they're notoriously anti-union. So if that tells you anything, they were on the wrong side of the Battle of Blair Mountain. So good on you, Amazon, for hiring probably what equates to being the scum of the earth.
Yeah, I think that's something that needs to be hit on. What you just mentioned too is like there are a lot of NLRB rules and regulations that protect employees that I don't think a lot of employees know about, or because they're not educated at work. Why would you educate workers of their rights? That would be too nice. So obviously, like, you have the ability to be protected while forming a union, like against retaliation and things like that. And I think that that's something that needs to be discussed more, because like it is. You go through hell. Like, the NLRB doesn't stop that. Because they can't, but they can stop you from being like fired and like, stuff like that. But you'll go through a lot of other things that get around the NLRB, and Amazon, I'm sure, is taking full use of everything that they can around those regulations.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact is, there are a lot of people, Chuck, who wonder why you and are pro union, right? Because there's a lot of bad discussion about it, but there are three things that I want to mention before we jump off this train on why I like unions so much. The first one is states with right to work. Right to work, Chuck. It's essentially
it's a right to work. Yeah, I mean, right to work essentially. Well, unions branded as right to work for less. It makes your memberships voluntary. So basically, what happens is you can get the benefits of union bargaining and negotiating without having to pay dues, which essentially neuters unions and makes them it diminishes their power significantly.
Yeah, and that's the point. And states with right to work, so Missouri is a really good case study of that. The year after they implemented right to work, their wages dropped 15%. It's that quick. There have been some that have dropped 30%.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're able to do it because they kill unions without saying they're killing unions, and that's why it also takes away things like federally regulated wages, where they are state mandated wages for union workers, stuff like that. The other two big things that I think are important: healthcare. We talk about this all the time, the need for healthcare. Chuck, more than 50% of non-union workers don't have healthcare. How many? Datalacha. What's the percentage of union workers that have healthcare?
50% or 100%? Wait,
union
is 100.
No, it's not 100.
No, fuck.
Well, thanks. Now you made my
more than
bad.
50.
It is 75% of union workers have health insurance.
Nailed it.
But there's a lot of reason behind why it's lower than 100%. It's because they get the option that they don't have to take it, or their spouse has it, or other things like that. The last thing we talked about, union dues, right? Union dues are expensive. I will not say that they're not. I think that they're worth every penny, but they are expensive to people. Here's the difference that they don't want to tell you, though. Union workers in 2019 made $800 more a month. So if your union dues are $800 and you were able to get health care because of it, you're literally not paying anything extra.
And normally union dues would not be that high, like $800.
Right. I'm just saying at max, right? Like,
yeah,
you're
a
looking
fact
at
that
something lower.
Yeah. No, it's a fact, and I've seen, I used to look at my dad's paycheck and see how much union took out. It was a modest fee, but it wasn't like anything earth shattering. And the fact that the reason that they use that argument, Amazon, is because it's easy to say, oh, well, you're getting money taken out of your paycheck, but the benefit, other than like healthcare and stuff, which again, Amazon employees, I guess, are offered healthcare, but union could probably negotiate a better plan. But more so than that is they can negotiate higher wages, and it puts pressure on the company to do that. And so the higher wages will help offset any cost of union dues. So that's the whole thing behind it, is you're investing in someone to bargain on your behalf and get you better benefits and better pay. And statistically, like you cited, union people always get paid more. Always.
Well, I just mentioned that they make about $800 more a month. Union dues annually across the board average $400 a year.
So there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a massive increase. I think we shared it. The TikTok video of the union worker, the guy who's he's
he was like a construction worker.
Big handsome guy, great beard.
Kind of looked like your brother.
Right? It could have been, but I love the way that he broke down why his union was important. He did it very simply, but he even mentioned, and this is what the average is too. He said that his union dues are about 2 hours of his work per month. That the equivalent, and that's the national average.
Yeah.
So for 2 hours that you've worked, you're going to pay per month for union dues.
So 30 minutes a week.
That's insane. That's why these companies hate it, because it's not actually that much money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now it is. I will say there are people who will struggle, and union dues do hurt. But something else that people don't talk about is like there are some unions that will offer financial assistance to that.
Yeah, there's that, and then a lot of them offer fringe benefits as well. Like they have a lot of times they'll have deals with different local grocery stores or the credit union. You usually get to participate in a credit union, which is better than a bank. Car insurance deals, vacation deals too. Good Disney World, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of fringe benefits to it, and just ultimately over time it pays for itself with negotiated higher pay and wages and just the ability to bargain. And that's the thing, is it starts to tip the scales in favor of the workers just a little bit more. And that's why it's important, because look at how powerful Amazon is. Look at what kind of like a behemoth of a company that is. The richest man in the world is that way because of that company. And Amazon is taking over everything. They're going to start offering healthcare. That's not far down the road. That's a legitimate thing that they're working on. Like as a healthcare provider company, insurance company. And so they're insanely powerful. They're like this massive corporate entity that is just taking over this country. And I really hope that the employees of the Bessemer plant will vote to authorize that union, because I think that the ripple effect of that could be astronomically important, and it could really start to spur a new labor movement in this country. I mean, maybe that's a little too optimistic of what could happen, but I mean, it really, you think about it and how many people work for Amazon, it really could make a huge difference, and at least it would make a difference in the lives of the people that work there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think there are a lot of good benefits to it. I think there are a lot of good things. Chuck, I think that we, as a small business / podcast, we should take an oath right now, Chuck. As soon as we become a $1 billion company, we agree that we will only pay our employees at least $70,000 a year.
When we become a $1 billion company, we will do that. We will also let them unionize. They will unionize. That's our oath. That's right. Spread the gospel. Anyway, speaking about spreading the gospel, talk about a beef with Big John.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from Parkersburg, West by God, Virginia, it's the 18 Husky himself, Beef with Big John.
Really quick, I know this episode's a little bit longer, and I think this one's just basic. I hinted to it earlier that Chuck mentioned that Appalachia, we always, as people who talk about Appalachia a lot, we always kind of get, I don't know the word for it. What's the word for like mansplained, but obviously like not, I don't know.
Explained? Lectured?
Yeah, we all lectured. I think that's a good one. As people who always talk about Appalachia, we kind of get lectured a lot on what people think Appalachia is, right? So that Appalachia is only a certain set of states. Like a lot of people think it's just West Virginia and Kentucky. But there's also a different issue, Chuck, and we've never talked about this. We've always been super nice, right?
Real nice
You
guys.
and I have talked about this. You and I have talked about this behind the scenes. We've never mentioned this on the podcast. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
I don't.
You don't even know what I'm mentioning.
I'm excited and kind of nervous.
Chuck, I have to make it clear. And I know that you're going to be upset. Because I'm breaking the fourth wall.
Oh shit, here we go.
We, Appalachia, are not a West Virginia podcast.
Holy shit.
We're not. We're not a West Virginia podcast.
Even though we're getting ready to file LLC paperwork that will have us incorporated in the state of West Virginia.
A West Virginia small business, sure. Yeah. Right? But our podcast does not focus on West Virginia. We're two guys from West Virginia, so people assume that that's all we talk about. That's not all we talk about. That's not... Right. Chuck doesn't live here anymore. Most days I wish I didn't.
So we're pulling back that fourth wall. We're revealing some cracks in it.
I'm just saying that because I'm mad at the legislature right now. Anyway, look, we love West Virginia, okay? And we know that a lot of people that listen to this podcast are from West Virginia or live there or have ties there. But we have to make it clear, like, we're not a West Virginia podcast. We're not going to focus on West Virginia. We talked, in our opinions, we talked too much about West Virginia at the beginning of this podcast. So now, making it clear, we are, as the name says, we're an Appalachian podcast. We're going to focus on the entire region. We'll continue to educate people about the entire region, and we'll continue to be educated about it. This, in no way, shape, or form, is anything against West Virginia, but we get a lot of like comments and messages just about like really specific West Virginia things, which are great. But
great, love it.
Right. Like, people message us about random stuff that's going on in West Virginia, which we love to hear about, but we're not going to cover it. And I think that that's something that we have to make clear is like, again, this is not anything against West Virginia. We love West Virginia. We'll continue to talk about West Virginia here and there, but we're going to talk about the region overall. And I'm not saying this to be mean to anybody or anything like that. I just want to explain like why we may not cover something that you send us. And it's not because we don't like the idea. It's just that it might be too regional or too specific to, a certain part of the state or something.
Yeah. Or too racy. Stop sending us those dick pics.
Yeah, seriously, we cannot publish those.
No, we can't. And that's
we are making a book. We are making a book. We that will be a Patreon exclusive.
It's called Akok Laksha. So nice coffee table book. Put it on there when you have people over that you don't want to come back.
We love you. We love West Virginia, but we love Appalachia the most, is all I'm saying.
That's right. And I think the point is, like, it's not going to be exclusively about West Virginia. That doesn't mean we're not going to have people on from West Virginia. In fact, most of our guests have actually been outside of West Virginia.
Exactly. And I'm saying this just, again, not to be like mean or rude or anything. I think that people may feel bad, like when we don't cover something, and we don't always, like, if somebody messages us like something specific and we don't cover it, I just don't want people to feel bad. And it really bugs me because sometimes we don't get the chance to message them back fully. And I think just explaining that, we love the state, but that's not all we do. I think it's important.
Yeah. I mean, we try to talk fully about Appalachia and cover every part of it, and we try to do that and hope to do it more. That's why today we talked about Alabama, because Alabama, it gets swept under the rug when talking about Appalachia. It's an important part of it. So
isn't that weird? I just thought of that. West Virginia, this is like one of the only times when you talk about Appalachia where West Virginia is at the forefront, because like West Virginia usually gets kind of ignored on most things.
Yeah.
But when we talk about the region, it's the only state that has the entire, part of it in Appalachia. So I think that's really cool. Anyway,
there you go. Cool
overall,
things to end it.
Great session.
Great stuff. Great. That's kind
another
of
great therapy session.
It's kind of like a beef, but it was like a happy beef. Like, hey.
Yeah, I really don't have beef. It's just mostly I want to take my time to be able to explain something.
Beef consomme.
I like that.
Sure, we'll go with it. Beef broth.
Beef tartare.
Beef tartare. Speaking of beef tartare, thank you all so much for listening to us. Follow us on all social medias. Check us out on www.appodlatcha.com, patreon.com/appodlatcha. Join us for that live Zoom and every other thing. And remember that platypuses should be the next Easter bunny. Love you. Good night.